Hello everyone, Rachel Rex, the Profile Professor here for our second free live training. Really excited to have some of you tuned in today, and I'm sure people will watch it on the replay. If you're watching the replay, just hit me up with a hashtag replay so I know and I can send you a thank you for tuning in. So today's live training is on online dating, bios, and text. So your profile bio talks about who you are, what you want, gives somebody a little bit of information about you beyond just a photo. Really, really important. They are not the most important part of your profile, as again, having those great photos is the most important. However, we do need to have that great profile text. So a lot of people are really confused about what to put, or they're just not comfortable talking about themselves. So they'll actually lead with that and say, I'm not great at talking about myself. Not a very positive or a confident way to start. So there's a few rules when creating your profile text or your bio that I want everybody to keep in mind. So the first one is to always be positive. So be positive, present who you are, not who you aren't. Talk about who you're looking for, not who you aren't. So, hi, thanks for stopping by to check out my profile. I am a mom. I'm really passionate about my work. I love stand-up paddleboarding. I went last weekend. I'm looking forward to this trip. Looking for a successful, handsome, chivalrous man. That's all positive. We don't want to be talking about, say, well, I'm not this, I'm not that. I'm looking for somebody who's not a liar, not a gold digger, not this. We don't want to talk about any of that. And we don't need to say that in our profiles, because what we're doing is we're becoming expert screeners. So we're going to get really good at screening people. So we don't need to list caveats in our profiles or anything like that. So number one rule, be positive. Number two is to be honest and at the same time confident. So talk about your life as it is. If you really love chilling on the couch in sweatpants watching Netflix, say that, because there are other people out there that love the same thing and you want to find your people. Don't talk about interests that you wish you participated in. Talk about what you actually do. So I would suggest look at the last month and look at how you spent your time, your work time and your leisure time, what you did on the weekends, what you enjoyed the most, what you'd like to do more of. That's what you want to talk about. Paint a picture. So last weekend I went hiking. I explored here or there. It was a great time. I'm looking forward to my hike next weekend. Or again, I saw a great movie. I love seeing movies. I'm looking forward to this movie coming out. Be honest and be confident, and don't create your own objections, and don't talk about yourself negatively or lacking confidence. So don't say, I'm not very fit, or I'm not very this. Talk about what you are and what you're looking for, and be confident. Third rule is to paint a picture rather than listing a whole bunch of kind of useless words. I see so many profiles that describe themselves as kind-hearted, light-hearted, and fun-loving. Who isn't kind-hearted? Who isn't fun-loving? Most people out there would describe themselves that. When I read that, that doesn't tell me anything about you at all. It tells me that you're a little bit lost in your profile, and I want to know about you. I want you to paint a picture. Don't tell me you're an honest person. Don't tell me you are very community-minded. Don't use labels. Talk about your life. So if you feel that you are, very community-minded, if volunteering is a passion of yours, talk about what cause is important to you, how you like to give of your time. So don't say who you are, show who you are in the words, paint a picture. Number four, again, so we're talking about painting a picture of who you are. Number four, similar to that, but we want to talk about something you're passionate about. So if you are passionate about rescuing orphan dogs from Cuba, talk about that. If you're passionate about traveling, if you're passionate about food and trying foods from other cultures, talk about that. Talk about the last great restaurant you tried and how it was such a great, surprising experience. You really need to let someone know what gets you excited. We don't want people to know what gets us angry. Tell them what gets us excited. The fifth one that I always suggest is to talk about a goal that you're working toward, or something in the future that you're really looking forward to. So it tells people that you're not someone who's satisfied staying in the status quo. It tells them that you're somebody who has plans for the future, looks forward to things, and has goals they're trying to achieve. So those are the top 5 profile do's. Unfortunately, there are so many more don'ts than do's, and there are so many poor profiles out there. As much as it's great to write our own great profile bios, we also need to know what to look for when we're reading other people's bios. So obviously the first red flag is no bio. And still get messages. Men usually don't get away with this, and it's not a great idea to message someone without a bio because they haven't put a lot of effort in. So it doesn't mean they're a bad person. It doesn't mean they're bad for you, but it means they haven't put a lot of effort in. So if you're looking for something serious, then you want somebody who's also looking for something serious, who's going to put some time and effort in. So no matter how much you like the photos, if there's no text and you're looking for something serious, I would suggest not connecting, messaging, or matching. So that's the most important one. Second one is you don't want to insult your target audience. So you're online dating. Your target audience is online dating as well. I see so many profiles that say, I can't believe I'm looking for love here. This is what my life has come to. Or they say something and they think they're being funny and cute and they say, I'm willing to lie about how we met. Don't say that. You're trashing your target audience because you know what? A lot of your target audience don't feel the need to lie about how they met. Many couples nowadays meet online. It's not something to be ashamed of or to hide. Don't insult your target audience. And don't say, I can't believe I'm here. The other one you can want to look for is you'll see this, and you see this more with men, but you do see it with women sometimes too. You'll see profiles that say, well, I'm trying this again, and that's how they start. Not a very positive message to start off with. And it's something for you to kind of include in that they're not approaching this very positively. And you also know that they've had some repeated failures with online dating because of their attitude. So don't talk about trying it again. The other thing is when you're reading other people's profiles, and again, you should always be honest. So if somebody's fresh out of a relationship, sure, say that it's better. You're probably not in a good state to be looking for anything serious, and that's okay. But beware, if you're looking for something serious and potentially long-term to really get to know someone, if you see a profile that says back on the market, newly single, getting back out there again, I would avoid talking to that person if you're looking for something serious. If you're okay with just a fun date and not looking to take it any further, no problem, but be aware of that. People's profile text will tell us a lot about their intentions. You'll also see profiles. There's one that's out there right now, and I guess it was funny the first couple of times I saw it, but it's getting really old, and it's some imagery painted about my ideal date is I pick you up in my Kia Sorento, and it's on fire, and I tell you that's okay, I like danger, and we go for dinner, and then afterward we come out and I have marshmallows, and we roast marshmallows over the fire. It's a templated text that men tend to use very regularly. I see it on every site at least once a day. If you see that, they're not creative and they're not taking this seriously. So again, if you want someone who might be a little sarcastic, might be fun for a drink, that's okay. But if you're looking for something more serious, I wouldn't be corresponding with somebody that says that. The other one that's getting popular nowadays are the reviews, and they're joke reviews. So when you see a new book that's released, you'll see New York Times reviews, Huffington Post reviews, and they'll say, oh, it's this, it's scintillating, it's an adventure. So people have got profiles that will just be a joke reviews, and it'll be reviews from their mom, their college professor, teacher, best friend, or they might be joking celebrity reviews. Again, is it funny? Yeah, a little bit. It definitely can make you laugh, but they haven't put much time and effort or creativity into their profile. So if you're looking for something serious, I would, again, keep moving. The other one you see is somebody says, my friend wrote this. I write profiles for people, but I shouldn't say for people because I write them with you. It's a project we work on together. And I tell all of my clients when we work on a profile together, you don't want to put that in your profile that we worked on it together. Keep that, that's our deal. We worked on how to best present you, and that's okay, but don't put that somebody else wrote your profile. You also don't want to write, I never check this, I'm so busy, if I don't get back to you, anything, right? It just says that you're not really serious about dating, and that's okay, right? It doesn't mean not everybody's online to find a relationship, and that's okay. All relationships should begin with casual dating, but again, if you're looking to progress to something more serious, these are things to really be aware of. The other one is really, again, you get some sarcastic profiles and they can be quite hilarious. There was one recently that a woman posted in a group, and he said he was looking for somebody emotionally mature to pull him by a string up and down for months and to eventually both hate themselves and each other. And was it a little bit funny? Yeah, it describes a toxic relationship. But again, he's not taking it very seriously. Not a great outlook. It's not very positive. I would avoid that. If you want to go for a drink with somebody you might have some laughs with, that's okay, but I would avoid that if you're looking for something more serious. Another one we see a lot of, and women tend to do this too, especially women who've been through difficult relationships or come out of them, they'll put certain qualifiers in their profile, or they'll start to generalize and, well, do any men even read this? And they'll put that in their profile. It's not very positive. So we don't want to say that. We are assuming that anyone that checks us out, sees our photos, is going to read our profile. Positive attracts positive, negative attracts negative. So if you're putting negativity out there, you're probably going to attract it back. Misery loves company. Show that you live a fabulous, positive life. You're goal and future oriented. And you're going to have a lot better time online. So don't do those qualifiers. So some women will say, you have to own your house. You have to have this kind of job or be a university graduate. And that is absolutely okay if that is one of your standards. That is an appropriate, respectable standard, but you don't need to put it in your profile. Because what's going to happen is there may be, and again, ladies are more guilty of this than men, there's going to be a man who owns his home, who's got a master's degree, who's reading it and thinks you sound a little hoity-toity or a little entitled. And so he's not going to message you, even though he's everything you described you want or that you have to have. I see some men's profiles too. I actually saw one and it was funny, and it said, if you weigh more than 145 pounds, do not message me. So kind of sounds like an asshole. He probably is. But here's the thing. There are women who are under 145 pounds who are exactly what he's looking for, who now aren't going to message him because they think he's a jerk because he said that. You is absolutely appropriate, but you don't put it in your profile. That's just, you filter it out and you only message women that appear to be slim or fit, or you only respond to women that appear to be your type, but you don't put that in your profile. Another one I see a lot of, and men tend to put this in their profiles sometimes too, and they'll say, gold diggers need not apply. And this one always makes me laugh. I've talked about it on my social media recently. No man of great means is going to put that in his profile, because a man of great means who's actually worried about gold diggers isn't going to broadcast that he has great means and he's worried about this. So this tends to indicate somebody that's jaded, somebody that might be angry about their separation, support they have to pay, or anything about that. So it's not positive. I would avoid it when you read it. Again, these are all generalities. Have successful, happy, healthy relationships ever come out of people with some of these profile traits? Yes, they do. But when I'm doing group coaching, I really want to talk about playing the numbers in your favor. You want to put your time and effort where it's best suited. And so if you're doing that, because you don't want to burn out, you don't want to be talking to too many people, be too frustrated, or be going on too many dates. One of the things I talk to individual coaching clients about is that if you are going on bad dates, that does not mean online dating sucks. It means that you have not developed your screening skills effectively to avoid those bad dates, because there are a lot of things you can do ahead of time to really screen someone and get a sense of who they are, right? You want to get them live on the telephone talking. Sometimes there are excellent profiles, again, that someone else wrote, and then you get somebody on the phone and every other word is, oh yeah, I was doing that and shit. I don't know why, men say it sometimes, and it's not reflected in a profile. So you want to have that phone conversation fairly quickly. And you don't want to invest very much before you meet someone. If you book a date with someone, let's say you're going on vacation and you book a date for 2 weeks from now, don't be texting them, talking to them every day until then. Set a boundary and say, you know what, I'm absolutely okay if we touch base once before then, but I'd really prefer to get to know you in person. You're not getting your expectations up too high, you're pacing it, you're pacing yourself, and you're not investing anything. I always laugh, and if he sees this, he's gonna laugh. So one of my first online dates this was about 15 years ago. And this was back before webcams, this was back before any of the screening. You'd go to the university library and scan a photo of yourself, and you had one photo. This was a long time ago. And he was cute, and we had chatted a little bit through the website, and so we met for a drink. And it was so funny because there's certain things you can't gauge on the phone or through video chat or through messaging. One of them, and this is very, very real, is actually the way somebody smells. And I'm not talking hygiene, because we're high-value daters here. We don't entertain anybody that doesn't take care of themselves. I'm talking about if somebody wears a cologne that you really don't like, or just has kind of a natural smell. Pheromones, our bodies are really drawn and attracted to them. So I went on a date with this gentleman, and he was really handsome and he was quite engaging, but he had probably, I don't know, I'm kind of assuming it was Axe, which you should never wear, men. Get a real cologne or don't wear any. Don't spray yourself in Axe. I think he had probably sprayed himself with half a bottle of Axe. Maybe he was nervous about smelling weird. And I was across the table from him choking. And I was trying to enjoy myself, but I literally couldn't breathe. It was just so overpowering, the smell. And so I never went out with him again. That was too much for me. Again, I hadn't invested much beforehand, which is great because, again, we can click well. We can be attracted to one another on video chat even. And then you meet someone and you don't like the way they smell, or they have some odd tick you notice that bothers you. So the funny part about this, so I didn't say anything to him back then. I think I kind of dropped off and just kind of gave him more the friend vibe. And we actually kept in touch for a number of years, and we're still in touch now. And so we always joke. And he is a real estate agent. And so when he was showing me condos once, this was probably 5 or 6 years ago, I finally said to him, I said, can you go easy on the cologne, please? Because I don't like, it's overpowering. I don't love the way you smell. So we always joke about it. And if I see him or we go for a coffee, the joke is, he went easy on the cologne, which is funny because you know what? 15 years ago, I didn't have the confidence to say that. And that could have been something too that someone could have easily rectified. So speak up too. If it's something little and you could say, I had a great time, but I am allergic to your cologne. If we were to get together again, would it be possible for you not to wear it? Have the confidence to say that. So we also want to talk about profiles. And what we want to say if we're parents about our children. So we definitely, some people will say not to say anything about being a parent, especially for women. The reason they say this is that there are predators that target single mothers. Some people assume single mothers are desperate or lack boundaries or any number of things. When the fact is single mothers tend to be really hard workers, really responsible and not desperate, and tend to have much higher standards because they're not just dating for themselves. Yes, it may be casual, but if anything ever became serious, this person would likely come into their children's lives. So single mothers have higher standards. Derek Jackson, someone I really admire, talks about single mothers being for grown-ass men only. So I wholeheartedly agree that. If you're a single mother, I would suggest saying you're a mom in your profile because some people are looking for someone without kids, and that's perfectly fair and appropriate. Absolutely okay. So you can say that. Say it, but you don't want to go into detail. You don't want to say names. You don't want to say, I would suggest not even giving specific ages, and I'd suggest not saying the gender of your children because you want to project that you have really strong boundaries around your children. Because when you do that, predators recognize right away, this woman's too much work for me. I'm not going to bother. I'm going to find someone with much weaker boundaries. So appropriate to say, one of the things that I would say in a profile is I would just say, the love of my life calls me mom, raising a young child. And I would say that. It's okay to say it's a young child. It's great if they're teenagers to say that, or if your kids are away at college, you can say that, but don't give specific details about your children. They deserve their privacy on the internet. We've already talked about we don't want to put their faces in our profiles for a number of reasons. So that's a big one there. The other one and I see this a lot with men that have never been married and don't have children, they put never married, no kids in their profile. And that's okay. You're being honest. It's a little bit abrupt. But here's an issue with that is that you're almost saying those things. It comes across like that's a really good thing that you've never been married and not had kids. So then women that may have been married or had children are turned off by that and think, oh, well, you're bragging about you've never done this. I've done this. We're not compatible. And that may not be the way the man feels whatsoever. So really important, again, we don't want to say something like that. If you've never been married or you don't have children, you just say nothing about it in your profile. You don't need to put that in your profile. Another one I see a lot of is people will say, looking for my best friend and the love of my life, and lead with that. That can come off a little bit desperate, and it's a lot of pressure, right? We talk about the first time you meet someone in person that you connect with online. It's not a date. It's a first meeting. It's an audition for a date. That's a lot of pressure to put on that first meeting, that somebody's looking for their best friend and lover and all of this. We don't need to say that. It's a little intimidating to people, and it can be a turnoff, and it can come across desperate. So the other one, and this is kind of the biggest no-no, is to say, nobody reads this anyway. I don't know why I'm filling this out. And then it'll be, women will sometimes say, all men just look at the pictures, right? Or men will say, all women are just looking for doctors and lawyers. If anybody generalizes about all women or all men, that's a huge red flag for you to keep going and to talk to somebody that's not generalizing like that. You don't want to, especially for women, there are a lot of men and women out there, I should say, that have had difficult relationships, have made poor choices, and they're very jaded. And when you see those types of comments, it doesn't mean they're a bad person. It doesn't mean they're not worthy of your time, but it means they've probably got some work on themselves to do before they can seriously invest in dating and someone else. They need to invest in themselves. So one of the things I actually often will reject coaching clients over is if somebody is fresh out of a relationship and they're hurting, they're emotionally scarred and they're bitter. My suggestion is, why don't you take some time to really take care of yourself, work on yourself. Maybe you want to go see a psychologist or a therapist and work through some of these feelings. You're not ready to date. Not everybody's ready to date, and that is okay. I don't want to work with people that aren't ready. I don't want to take your money if you're not ready. I want to help people have really, really effective, successful online dating experiences. So you need to be in a place where you're really confident with yourself, happy with yourself. You need to have a life. So I'm being overly general here and I'm talking a little bit beyond profiles, but again, this is what we want to communicate in the profiles. People want to be around other people that have great lives, that are happy, that are fulfilled. If you don't feel that way by yourself, you are not ready to date. End of story. Okay, not date seriously at least. If you want to go on a couple of dates to convince yourself that not all men are bad, really casual, that's okay, but you're not ready for a relationship. And people in these states sometimes when they do go out there dating will then jump into relationships because their pain will recognize someone else's pain. So, we're both exes. Let's just join all of our pain together. My pain sees your pain. And you may end up in a relationship, but it's not going to be healthy and it's not going to be based on trust and communication and helping make one another better. When I talk about a healthy relationship, I talk about a relationship based on trust, a relationship that's strong in communication, and a relationship in which people's strengths are what attract one another, not their weaknesses, and a relationship in which people have similar values and goals and a plan to work toward them together. That's a healthy relationship. So successful dating, and I say this over and over and over, it isn't just finding a relationship. A success story working with a client doing my online dating academy program will often be that they avoid the wrong relationships. And I'll joke with clients too sometimes if they're looking to potentially repartner or get married for the first time. I will say, you know what? It's possible your next husband is still married to his first wife. That is very possible. And it goes both ways. They may not be ready for you. You may not be ready for them. It does not mean you settle and get into a relationship right away. It means you're confident in dating, you hold your standards high, you have no shame in keeping them high, and you enforce them as you go on. So that's really successful dating. And it's okay to date casually. I encourage it. You don't want to commit right away. A lot of times when people commit right away, it's a sign of insecurity. And it can also be a sign of a need to control. And sometimes it can be a sign of a narcissistic trait. So we don't want to commit right away. We want to get to know people. We want to know who they are, what they're like. And we really want to pay attention. We don't want to look at the words people use to describe themselves. We want to look at the picture and the experiences they share. And we don't want to look at what they say. We want to look at what they do, right? So if somebody's online dating profile says, I'm very reliable and accountable. Okay, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. So you're chatting with them online and they say, well, I've got to run, but can I give you a call later at this time and have your number? And you say, sure. And then they don't call at that time. Well, they've just told you that they're not accountable and they're not going to be respectful of your time. And we need to pay attention to those things. And if someone has an excuse, it's just, again, spend your time where it's well spent, where you feel good about it. The other big thing, and I'm digressing a little bit here, but this is something a lot of online daters, if you are feeling really, really, really negative about dating and online dating, don't do it. I'm not here to convince you it's a good thing to do. Online dating opens up your world and exposes you to people that would have never entered your realm of possibility. No actual dating occurs online. It's just an introduction tool. And if you feel like it's awful and if you're feeling really jaded by dirtbag messages or no messages, it's time to take a break. We don't want to be projecting that out there, and it's okay to take a dating break. It's healthy to do that. I'm not here to convince you to date or to online date. I'm here to help you do it successfully when you're ready, and maybe to help you identify that you're not ready or that there's some work to do before you do it. So I see a bunch of you guys tuned in. Thank you so much. I'm so glad we got the technical part worked out this time and it's broadcast in our group. Does anybody have any questions about profiles, anything? I'm just looking at the screen. I see a bunch of people have joined in, but I don't know if anyone has any questions. I try to keep it around a half hour, but I'm not going to continue if we don't have much more to say, but I do want to answer any questions that anyone has. I know the one about talking about kids comes up often, and we've talked about that with the group members, what my suggestion is and how to be safe but honest at the same time. And again, you don't want to waste your time. You don't want to talk to someone at length and then they find out you have a child and they say, well, I'm looking for, to start a family from scratch, and that's okay. The biggest thing I want to tell everybody is your standards are your standards. Hold true to them. They are okay. And it's okay that other people have different standards. And the more honest we are and the more we honor ourselves and our standards, the more we're going to have success in dating. So we really want to be honest about that. And one other big thing that I didn't touch on, and then I think we'll sign off if we don't get any questions here, is in your online dating profile, do not list your deal breakers ever. Don't put them. Your deal breakers are a list you might have written down, you might have in your head. You don't list them. And the reason you don't list them is that liars, narcissists, and manipulators will use them against you, and you've just told them what to lie about. So do not list your deal breakers. Let them come up in conversation. A common one in my online dating life has been, and I'll share this here, which men I might date might see it. Oh, well, this is my situation is a little different, but a lot of women have the opinion too that they will not date men unless they are legally divorced. They won't date them if they're separated. And is it okay to date when you're separated? Absolutely. We all have our own moral compass, opinions, and what we're comfortable with. But don't put in your profile, I won't date divorced men, because then buddy who's separated is just going to lie and say he's already divorced. So don't put that in there. Let it come up in conversation. Oh, how long have you been single? And if that comes up, then you know, okay, well, that's not for me. But do not list deal breakers in your profile ever. Don't give identifying details. Don't say where you work. You don't want to say where you work for security reasons. You don't want someone showing up at your work. If you're self-employed, put your company for sure. But you don't want to say, especially if it's somewhere really specialized, don't list it. You don't want somebody showing up at your work or angry. And let's approach online dating confidently. Let's talk about who we are honestly, but let's lead with our best foot forward. And we all have bad habits. We don't need to put those in our profile. They'll come out soon enough, and they might not be as bad as you think, or they might not bother somebody else. So I don't think we have questions. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Our next live training will be in 2 weeks. I'll be taking suggestions for topics. It's likely going to be first messages, how to send them, how to evaluate them, how to receive them, and whether or not you want to respond. But open to any suggestions. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Remember, when you're out there dating, hold your standards high, be of high value, look for people of high value, and don't be afraid to not talk to somebody. It doesn't mean that you are judgmental. It doesn't mean that you're not giving people a chance. It means you know what you want and you're not wasting your time or theirs. So happy dating. Have a great day, guys.